This conference will now be recorded.
Fine. So, last session we had discussed the foreign currency invoice and payments, right? The invoice will be in non-functional currency and the payment also will happen in the non-functional currency. And we have seen the how the realized gain and loss accounts will comes into picture when you are making the payment. That is what the major objective that we have seen for the initial transaction. The pay alone is to pay individual invoice in one check. So if you are running payments from the create payments window for one supplier, obviously because you are selecting one check, so it would allow you to select only one document, one invoice, which is or one installment, which is marked as pay alone, right? If you are paying the same invoice from the PPR, assume that if multiple invoices of one supplier is getting selected, then multiple payment documents will be generated. That is what the intention of pay alone, right? So we'll discuss the bills payable concept for today, as well as we'll try to cover the withholding tax as well. So let's see. Bills payable. What is bills payable? Bills payable is basically uh, bills payable is basically a future dated payments. What we can say is, so what is a future dated payment? So you'll be giving while giving checks, you'll be giving a post dated check, right? That is the example of bills payable concept. So what is the difference? What is the difference it makes in terms of accounting, and what is an additional step that gets added in the process of bills payable concept? That is one side of it, and the other side of is what are the setup changes that we need to, even that also needs to be considered, right? So for bills payable, two things. One is from the what changes has to be done from the setup side, what is the change from process side, that we are going to see. Okay, so from configuration side, so need to give the bills payable account at common options, and next define bills payable payment method, right? Once these are the configuration side. Okay, once once these are available, then our job is to run the process, which means booking the transaction. We'll see what are the changes, what are the changes, or what is an additional step that you need to perform as part of your payment process. Okay, so let me go into the setup and maintenance, right? Financials, payables, common options. So this is what I was referring to, bills payable account. Whatever the account you set up over here, that will get defaulted as your bills payable account on your payment document. Okay, so let me see if we have any bills payable account. If not, we'll use some different account. There is nothing with bills payable. Salaries payable, specified fees payable, dividend payable. Okay, let's use this 5101 as the bills payable account. Assume this is the bills payable account, right? Why it is not updated? Okay, right, just let me take this combination, save and close. Okay, okay. So what the other task we discussed? Define payable payment method. So a payables payment method needs to be defined, right? So manage Payment method. This is for the payables related, right? Just go here, and here it would be this for you to search the existing payment methods, and you can. These are the various payment methods that exist, like the check, right? The check, electronic, as well as similarly, you would be required to create a dedicated payment method, right? Just I'm just creating with my company name, Apple Tables. Right, while you are creating it, just go to the bills payable tab. There are various tabs which you would see usage rules where like conditions. There will be conditions like what all business units or legal entities or payment process, the transaction type, those can be used this bills payable. It is kind of adding an additional condition on top of it. But just enable, go into the bills payable tab and just enable bills payable by saying that this payment method is specifically defined for the bills payable process. Okay, fine. So now we are done with the configuration, right? So what exactly the change that brings into the as a process side? This is what we discussed from the setup side, right? From the process side, what is at the time of invoice, what accounting entry it will debit? Expense account will debit, liability account will get credit, right? When you are making the payment, liability will debit, cash clearing will credit, right? At the time of reconciliation, cash clearing will debit and cash will go off, right? So this is for payment, this is for reconciliation. Okay, so this is what is the standard flow that we see, right? So when we say standard flow, what does it mean is you are making the payment immediately so that the supplier will get the amount immediately, right? Whereas bills payable in case of the term itself is it is a future dated payment. That's what we discussed, right? So when we say the future dated payment, the supplier will be given a check with the future dated payment on the specific date that the supplier will go for the bank for check honorment, right? The bills, the cash will be paid to the supplier, the funds will be paid to the supplier on the maturity date, right? So if you look at this case, the normal payment, the banker is paying immediately when the check is presented. But whereas in case of the banker, the supplier is not eligible to withdraw the funds from the bank, right, on the check payment date, right? So he has to wait until the maturity date, right? So what is an additional step getting added over here? The maturity till the maturity date, right? When we issue the payment, what account this amount has to go and sit in which account? That is what is the intermediate account that is getting added. That is what is the bills payable account. Okay. So again, this when you create the invoice, it is the same, right? When you are issuing a payment, right? The it is going to be a bills payable account, right? So once this is done, let us say you have given a future dated you have given a future dated check, right? So what happens is liability account will knock off and the amount will go and sit in the bills payable account. Once on maturity date, right? On maturity date, if on maturity date the supplier went for the bank for the check honorment. So in that case, what happened? the bills payable account will get debited and your cash clearing account will get credited. And the rest of the reconciliation is same, right? So when you are issuing your future dated payments, what is happening? These are the two legs which are getting added into your process side of it, right? So how does this? The process remains same. Whatever the payment generation process and the reconciliation process, everything remains same. But to facilitate this additional leg that is being added, there is an process again. This whatever the amount is, whatever the accounting entry that is being generated at payment liability to bills payable, which means right now the amount is in the account, the payment balances, where does this account balances holds in bills payable, right? When that account will get knocked off bills payable account, when does that account get knocked off? When you are when the actual payment is made to the supplier, right? So let us say that the supplier, his supplier or supplier is deposited the check with the bank and the banker has cleared the payment. In that case, in the application also the same step has to be, the same payment, I mean the same clearance also has to be recorded in the application, right? So that for this for this to facilitate this process, just you need to trigger a program in Oracle. Okay, so what is that? That is update bills payable status report, I guess. So this I'll get the exact process name. Okay, basically this is what is the process from the bills payable side. Okay, so just uh, just an additional process is being added for the bills payable, because the payment whatever we are making is a future dated payment. Okay, so let us book a transaction flow in Oracle. Any questions on this, the process? Fine. Let me go and book an invoice. It's a bit slow, it seems. Okay, so okay, let me fill in the details.
Yeah, Tirupati, it was slow from last night.
Okay, okay. Not sure. I was using yesterday evening. It was okay. It was fine. But not sure. Okay. It's too slow, man. 1,000 years I am creating it for. Let me just give an expense account. Once this is populated, then save it. So once this invoice is saved, I'll tell you one step which we need to do it as manually, because the whatever the bills payment with method we have created, but the payment method that gets defaulted on the invoice must be defaulted from some of the setups, right? Maybe on the common options are invoice options that we set up. While we set up the invoice options, we give the default payment method, which was a check, right? The same also can be overridden at the payment the supplier side as well, right? So ideally, if you are going to if you are going to give a continue, I mean, if you are going to deal with a specific supplier with for whom you always will be giving the future dated payments, in that case what you can do, you can go and update the payment method as the future dated payment related payment method whatever we configured, right? If you update that as the supplier site level, that gets defaulted on the invoice, right? So since we haven't updated that one, so we will update that payment method on the invoice area manually. Okay, so to update that, you need to go into the installments area. We will see that. So the invoice is validated now, right? You can go and see the what is the payment method, right? That is being assigned for this invoice. Right. So this is what I was talking, the payment method. So assume that this payment method is got defaulted. We even have not updated the supplier side level, but the payment method we might have given it the invoice option. So what is the sequence that the defaults checks from the application side? First it go and check if supplier or supplier side any default values. If not, then the whatever you set up at the master level, which is at the invoice option, that will get default, right? Since we haven't updated that at the site level, now we will do it in manual way. Okay. So Apple bills payable, this is what is the payment method that we define. Okay, if you have assigned this at the supplier level as a default value, then that would have been defaulted on the invoice. So for your practice purpose, once you are done with the some of the uh, configurations, right? Let's say the interest invoice or the pay alone. Once you have tested your convent, I would request you to disable that one, because unnecessarily it gets creates, right? Gets confusion while viewing the accounting. Okay, so we are done with the process now, the invoice side of it, right? So just on the create accounting as well. This is an unaccounted invoice. So the accounting is generated. The accounting would be the normal one, the expense to liability. That is what you should see over here. Okay. This is what is the account, right? Fine. So we'll go into the payment work area. Let me try in a different browser. Just give me, I'll be back. Application response time is too slow. Tried everything. Okay, so I have this. Okay, so let me make the payment. Let's go into the payables and payments work area.
This conference will now be recorded.
Fine. So the payment got enabled. Now go into the create payments work area. Create payments. Right. Just select give your details. So select the supplier for which has to be generated. The payment method should be your the bills payable payment method which we should select, because we have the payment method updated at the invoice level, and for the same invoice we want to we want to give an future dated payment, right? So that the payment method should be your the future dated bills payable payment method that we define. Let me change that one. Okay, so the payment document is 23, that is going to be issued. But as soon as you select the payment method as bills payable, the see the payment we are generating today, and what would be the payment, the future dated payment we are giving, right? The post dated check we are going to print. So the same term what you call is maturity date. What is the date on which the supplier should get his funds honored, right? In that case, once you as soon as you select the payment method which is enable future dated enable, the maturity date will get enabled over here. This is a mandatory field. Without providing that, you cannot proceed further in the making the payment process. Okay, so select any future date. Okay, let me select the 26th, right? So this is what, so the check is going to be printed with the payment date as 26th March. Okay, so I have updated that, and I need to select the invoice, right? Against this document is going to be paid against to what are invoices. So this is the one which I want to pay, right? So I've given the entire criteria. Just save and close. The payment document number is 23. So let us go and view the payment document and try to see the accounting, what the accounting gets generated. Can you see the payment status is issued, right? When you are issuing, if it is a normal payment, generally the payment status would be negotiable, right? This is one of another one point which you should remember. When the payment document is, when you make the payment, right? When you make the payment with the bills payable, the check is issued, right? The status would be updated to issued, whereas the payment in normal case it is negotiable, right? So when does this payment status marked as from issued to negotiable? This is the area where when you run the program, the update future date is payable, then the status gets updated to negotiable, and the relevant account also will get picked. Let us go and view that. 30 minutes to book two transactions. Right, this is the payment document. You can see the status is issued, right? And the payment date is the date which the payment got generated, but the maturity date is it is updated over here as March 26th, which we have given, right? So these are the other payment details, the general payment details that would you see. Just go and account it. Right, we are accounting. Right, can you see the future dated payment event class, whatever the account we have given 5101, right? If you remember, this was the account we have given while setting up the bills payable account and manage common actions, right? So this account got credited now, right? The payment, the liability account to, this is what the account is there, liability account to future dated payments. This account we have set up at the common options in the bills against the bills payable code combination, right? So now the additional step that gets added for this bills payable, we are going to run as part of the process. Go to the schedule processes.
Yeah, Tirupati, can we make this payment from the PPR?
Sorry. Yes, you
Can we?
can. Yes, yes, you can. So whatever the payments we generate from the create payments are from the PPR. You can make the payment from anywhere. It is not that these payments has to be done from this area, and specific payments has to be paid from the specific payments area. It is not like that.
Even making payment from the PPR, then we also enable. I mean, sorry, when we also enable the option bills payable at,
Bills
at
payable
PPR.
that we will be doing at the invoice level, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. next, as a process, next we need to trigger the program. I don't know how much time it takes. Let us see. If it takes the abnormal time, we'll see that in tomorrow's session. So let me just trigger. If it doesn't work, then I don't know. I think it takes time. We'll see the same program. It's just matter of 1 or 2 minutes, but it's taking abnormal, right? So let's see that the next step in tomorrow's session. We'll have a session. Mostly we'll have a session tomorrow.